everybody, and welcome to Tree Doctors. We're starting out today in Walnut Ridge, Arkansas, one of the warehouses of the Tree Doctors. We're going to go to Zenith, Missouri. We're going to be here in Walnut Ridge. We're going to be in Jonesboro. We're going to be all over. Tree Doctors begins right after this message. Stick around, won't you?
The Tree Doctors at Dickey Tree Service can inject a zap back in your tree's sap. Research has showed that ice-damaged trees are stressed, and stressed trees lead to insect and disease attacks. Micro Tree Injection is the answer for your trees. Micro Tree Injection is a closed system, delivering the exact dose of systemic chemical directly to the sap stream of the tree. Once the problem is identified, the Tree Doctors at Dickey Tree Service can inject vitamins, minerals, or insecticide directly into the sap stream of your trees. This bypasses the roots and provides immediate results. Micro Tree Injection has been university tested and field proven for over 35 years. After the Tree Doctors at Dickey Tree Service treats your trees, you receive a written 1-year guarantee. We won't treat a tree we don't think we can help. Let the Tree Doctors at Dickey Tree Service put the zap back in your tree's sap.
Daddy phoned to tell us that old tree might have to come down. The one I had the tree house in and chased my wife around. He said a neighbor showed him where it was busting at the trunk. And if the snow got heavy, it could crack down to the stump. We got to save our family tree. It's such a big part of our history. What a nostalgic sight to see. We got to save our family tree. Grandpa said they planted it when he was just 8 years old. His mama kept the clods broke up while his daddy dug the hole. I phoned up a friend of mine that lives in our hometown. He said he knew a tree doctor didn't like to cut trees down. The man went out and checked our tree and bolted it back together. He said it would last a lifetime, no matter what the weather. We got to save our family tree. It's such a big part of our history. What a nostalgic sight to see. We got to save our family tree. Yes, we got to save our family tree.
Ed Dickey's out there taking care of some trees. We're going to catch up with him and see what's going on right now on Tree Doctors.
We're here at the historic V tree in Craighead Forest, and here with me is Larry Jackson, the superintendent of the Parks Department here. And Larry, why don't you tell our viewers about what went on with this tree?
Well, this tree is unique, kind of like the other tree we looked at. Of course, it's one that I've heard more stories on about the Indians bending them over and marking the trail than any. But this tree took a beating, and we was trying to figure out a while ago, about 12 to 15 years ago, a guy plowed right dead center into it. He was trying to commit suicide, and the pieces of his car, if you remember, Ed, was 50 and 100 feet out there. We called you, and you came out and made an appraisal for the insurance from the guy that hit it, and then you started doctoring it, so you extended the life of this tree sometime.
Yes, sir. I remember they was pieces of car, now that you remind me, way back out here in the woods, of them busted lights and stuff. And what the city had me do was I did an appraisal of the damage, and then I treated the tree to make it last a little bit longer, knowing it would keep going downhill, like Larry said. And to tell our viewers roughly what a tree at that time, I think it's the amount of damage was something like $3,900 that the insurance company had to pay for damage to this tree, to the city. And it was a great tree, and I know they wouldn't have took $10,000 for it as far as that goes, but it's hung on here a few more years, hasn't it, Larry?
Yes, it has. And a tree like this is very unique, and I don't know if you can put a real dollar value on it. I know I'd like to have the dollars for the pictures that have been taken off of this tree. People like to climb into that, and you know, almost every day in the summertime you'll see someone, or several times there'll be people in this tree taking pictures of it.
Right. Well, my producer on this program, John Passmore, opened the show one time from right there here about 2 years ago, setting in that V on this tree. So everybody that's had a camera, I guess, knows a little bit about this tree, but that other one's going to take its place, I believe, don't you, Larry?
I believe it will. It's a lot bigger tree. It's shaped a little different, but as we was looking at the bark on it, it almost had to be something done to it, and that would have been 90 to 100 years ago. Versus happening in nature. You know, it could be a freak of nature, but it's very unusual because the bark went 3 different ways.
Well, the Indians knew a little bit about grafting as well as like our grandparents, and one of these days on the program I'm going to touch on the grafting and let our viewers know how you do that, and that's an art all to itself. And I want to thank you, Larry, for talking about this great tree out here at Craighead Forest.
Appreciate you coming out.
You know, another tip for you as time goes on, technology has allowed us to know more and more about trees and insects. And so when we do something for your tree, we go right after the target insect. We leave your good ones alone. The old method of, well, just give you an example of dormant oil spraying that was been done for well over 100 years. What that entails is completely covering your whole tree with a emulsifiable oil. That's an oil that mixes with water, and you spray it on your tree during the dormant season generally, and you smother out the scale insects and other insects. But also it kills your beneficials. You know, so which one's going to come back first? Your weak trees, you know what's going to come back first. You know, your borers and everything's after it anyway. So you won't see us doing total canopy spraying because our chemicals are so strong, it just takes a small amount of the right stuff to do a whole lot. I'm here in Walnut Ridge with me is John Monroe. He runs John's Lock and Key here. And John, you remember our discussion on this tree behind us?
Yes, I do. Boy, it is a beautiful tree.
Right. John had asked me what type of tree it was here a couple years ago. And like I said on the program before, you can get this from your the Forest Department or any of your state parks. It's the trees of Arkansas. And I showed John what this tree was. You still remember what this is?
Yes, it's an empress tree.
That's right. A lot of people know it as a panola tree, princess tree, just several different names, but it's a great tree. And the reason I stopped here to talk to John, he's got a great pecan tree we treated here, hadn't you?
Oh, it's fantastic. He treated it when I was in Egypt.
Yeah, he was one of the National Guardsmen that had to go overseas, and I did it one winter here. We treated it, didn't we?
Roger that. And it done a fantastic job.
You remember how many pounds of pecans you got off of it?
Well, it got more pecans off of it the following year than it ever got off of it.
Right. Yeah, it really helped it. You got a few fruit trees here, too, I helped you with, hadn't you?
Right. I've got a peach tree and a large plum tree, dwarf plum tree, and it's doing good.
Right. I remember we treated that plum. It was loaded down, wasn't it?
Oh, it was real loaded down, and I just use it, get what I need off of it, and let the community have what they want off of it.
Right. But what I wanted to let our viewers know, whether it's a nut tree or a fruit tree, either one, they both respond well to treatment and care, don't they, John?
Oh, they sure do. The nutrients and stuff you put in them makes them do fantastic.
Well, John, I appreciate you taking a minute and talking to us about it, and I hope you get a little more business with your John's Lock and Key here.
Well, I'm hoping so. I just got back from Fort Hood from deploying troops to Iraq from 3rd 9th Brigade. And I'm glad to be back now. I got back about Christmas, and I'm glad to be back and get my business built back up.
Yes, sir. We're glad to have you back, and I appreciate you going over to start with.
Thank you very much.
Here's a tip for you about taking care of your tools. Most people know that before they put them up, they need to oil them up a little bit. You can take this one right here. It wasn't cleaned up before it was put away, and now when you get it out, it needs cleaned up. But more important than that, when you prune your branches and you go from one tree to another, if you got a little solution of 25% bleach and water, and you stick it down in a little bucket there, your pruner head, and that's what you're disinfecting, and you're not spreading the diseases from one tree to the next, and it kind of makes your tool work a little better too. A lot of people say, well, what kind of bleach you prefer, and most people don't know it, but all bleach is the same. I don't care whose name it's on there. Federal regulations make it all the same. So you get that cheap bleach, that'll work just as good. Keep them tools clean, that'll help your trees. We're here at the Earl Bell Community Center, and here with me is Jason Wilkie, the park director. Anything else coming up new in parks that we need to be aware of?
Well, right now we're conducting an urban forestry inventory. We've been given a grant from the State Forestry Commission to really inventory the trees we have in Jonesboro. And there's a group out of Conroe, Texas, that has come in, and they've taken a sample of some of our trees, looking at the diversity of our population, trying to identify some hazard trees, asking community members how they feel about urban forestry, to give us a plan and an inventory on how to develop this forestry program for the future. And what they're even going so far as taking aerial photos and designating certain planting areas in public spaces so that we can actually enhance the forestry that we've got in the city.
And really looking ahead to the future.
That's right, because the neat thing about forestry, and in some ways the thing that makes it difficult, is that you're investing for your children and your grandchildren. You're investing from 50 to 75 years from now, and we really hope to see Jonesboro be a more beautiful city 50 to 75 years from now with some of the things we're doing right now.
Keep a lot of them family trees around, in other words.
That's right. Some of those beautiful trees like we have in some of our cemeteries and in Craig Head Forest Park, some of those unique trees that you saw today, some of those neat things can really enhance a community, make it a beautiful community.
You betcha. I was reading recently in Truman, they've started a tree board there. So more towns are becoming aware, just in a small way, but they're starting to recognize the importance of trees in the community.
Yeah, I didn't know about Truman, so that's fantastic. And I think, Jonesboro, we looked at some of the statistics, and the Delta area cities have have a lower percentage of trees than any other area in Arkansas. And it's something we need to work towards. Jonesboro, fortunately, had a higher percentage than most of those. We're looking at around, the early reports from the inventory, around 14% tree coverage. When we were, the initial studies, some of the areas around the Delta areas are looking at 2-3% tree coverage. And so
we don't want to get treeless, though.
No, we don't want to get treeless at all. But it takes a group of people protecting and being interested in those trees to do that, because development and when the city's growing as fast as Jonesboro is, it's easy to say, let's take this land and build houses or shopping malls on it. But there are areas we need to protect. Development's good, but some of the areas we need to protect for green space.
Exactly. And John and I was talking earlier, the Craig Head Forest is almost the size of the Central Park acreage. Was you aware of that? I think.
No, I was not aware of that. 690 acres is about what we've got.
I think Central Park in New York is 800 acres, so we're not talking a lot of difference.
No, that's interesting. I did not know that. Yeah. That's fabulous.
Well, once people get more involved with trees, and we found that they don't mind trying to save them, do they?
That's right. It's been interesting, the response we've gotten as we've talked a little bit about our Urban Forestry Council with some of the council members, with some of the community members. People are very supportive, and I think deep down inside, most people feel more positive about trees than they realize. When you begin thinking about, the tree you climbed when you were a kid, or the park that has trees that provided shade, somewhere everybody has some sort of connection with a tree, and until somebody starts talking about it and enters into that conversation, you don't really realize that, hey, these are important pieces of life in our
That's
community.
Right. That's the oldest living thing on the planet too, the trees. So it goes back a long way. Well, Jason, we're going to be coming back to you here in the coming months, and we'll talk with you and see how these all these programs develop.
Great. I'll look forward to reporting back to you.
Thank you. I'm here at a box elder tree that's the client here is going to have cut down in the near future, and you can see why. The borers have really, this area was damaged a few years back, and the borers have really had a field day with this. Weakened the tree to the point it's actually it's going to become a hazard. And these box elder trees are short-lived trees anyway. They're a member of the maple family. So he'll get it out of there and he'll start another one. But that's what the borers look like, and a lot of times you don't see this in the bark because the bark kind of hides the little holes. But here we have a flat area so where you have no reason not to see all the damage they've done, and you can imagine how many holes are inside that. That's what borers can do.
We're going to take a little break, but we'll be back right after these messages on Tree Doctors.
Hello, I'm Ed Dickey, the tree doctor at Dickey Tree Service. I'm coming to you from inside of a tree. We've been getting inside of trees for 35 years. We get to the root of the problem. Give us a call. We know how to save your trees. We put the chemical where it needs to be, inside your tree, taking care of insect and disease problems. We're often imitated, but never duplicated. We've been doing this 35 years. We know what we're doing. Give us a call. We're the tree doctors, Dickey Tree Service. It's not hard to see what killed these trees. It was boreworms. The borer is a hard insect to control, virtually untouched with spraying and other applications. But with systemic injection, when the borer eats the tree, the borer dies. Trees are dying all over, but we've got the cure. We give a 1-year guarantee when we treat your trees for the borers. We've been doing this 35 years and we know what we're doing. Give us a call. We're the tree doctors, Dickey Tree Service, in your yellow pages under trees.
Every week we try to answer 2 or 3 of your questions at the mailbag that where you've emailed in or sent us a letter. And the first one is from John in Blyville, Arkansas. He writes, I have an oak tree that was uprooted in a recent windstorm. Can this tree be pulled back up and held in place so that sometime it will be a viable tree again? Over half the roots are still in the ground and are attached. The tree is 16 inches in diameter and my favorite tree. Well, John, I hate to say it, but you're going to be fighting a losing battle. Anytime your tree is pulled out like that and the roots are severed, they have done research on it and they put guide cables on it, and you get into a big tree like this, there's no way that tree is going to be a viable tree for you, and you can spend all kind of money on it, cabling, holding it up there, pulling it back up. You'd be much better off to start with another tree, get rid of that one there, instead of trying to put money in that one to straighten it back up. It's going to be a hazard for a while once you get it back up, and then it's going to slowly go downhill. It's going to be stressed, insect problems, and it's going to be a liability for you for many, many years to come. So get rid of that liability, start you with another tree, let Mother Nature show you that she knows her stuff, and you put another one in there. Get rid of that one, put another one in there. This one's from Brenda in Point Pleasant, Missouri. She writes, I watch your show regularly and have an extremely large tree in our yard. I would love for you to come and take a look at it, and maybe if it's big enough for it to be on your show. I enclose my address and a computer map how to get to it. Well, Brenda, you printed it all out just fine. That's what we like to hear. People tell us that they got a big tree, and when we're up in that part of the country, Point Pleasant, I believe, is right outside of Portersville, between Portersville, Missouri, and the river. When John and I are up there shooting, we'll try to get by there and take a look at that tree and see if you got something worth showing on the show. And if you do, you can rest assured it'll get showed on the show. So any of you other ones out there that's got an unusual big tree that you think that we need to talk about, or something that's happened to you on a yard, it's a family tree to you, a neat story, we'll entertain the thought of you tell us what you got, and we might put it on the show. This one is from Paul
if birds are roosting in my tree, is that really a problem? I've heard on your program where that's a problem in different places. Why is that a problem? Because I love birds. Well, Paul, that's a very good question. The birds I'm talking about are the cacklers, the blackbirds, red-winged blackbirds, and they overpopulate an area, and their droppings carry the spores that's released after the droppings build up from these birds roosting over a period of several days or weeks in that tree cause a health hazards. And one of the things you can get from those spores is histoplasmosis, which is not a real happy kind of thing. It's a bad disease. The health hazard there, but another problem is the smell, the stink that's let off for this. And if you got a roosting area, you know exactly what I'm talking about. For up to a quarter mile away, you can actually smell this when the wind is right. So that alone is a reason to get rid of them things. But when they're actually roosting, they fill that tree to the point that there's not another limb in that tree that would support a bird hardly. They just load it down. And the droppings dropping on, if it's a magnolia or a holly, on the leaves below it, create a ammonia-like effect and turn those leaves some, so they can't do their thing through photosynthesis. So the health of the tree is in jeopardy after roosting. So we developed a process to move those birds on out of the area. And to answer your questions, it's indeed a problem if you got a lot of birds that migrate down here. And this doesn't happen every year. I remember one of the mayors said back in 2000 he remembers it's this bad. But it depends on where you are in the Region 8 area. Some places are extremely bad, and the towns are having a difficult problem with these birds. Okay, if you got a question that you'd like for us answered, you can email us at dickeytree.com or write us at the Tree Doctors, Post Office Box 790, Jonesboro, Arkansas, 72401. And we'll try to answer them for you.
We're going to join Ed Dickey and see what's happening with your trees right now on Tree Doctors.
I'm here at the mayor's office in Walnut Ridge delivering a couple of our Roost Buster PAs. We got a bird problem here, and the mayor here, Mayor Glenn Murphy, phoned us, and it's ironic, we got a warehouse here that we put these together anyway, right next to the police department here in Walnut Ridge. But the city's starting to have a bird problem here. So it lets our viewers know that there is a way to handle that other than our CDs and cassettes. This is actually the machine that my people designed to play these. It's very efficient. It's 3 to 4 times more efficient than a normal CD player or cassette player because it's got these 50-watt movable speakers with it. You can turn it all the way down to do a hedgerow or leave them up and go right up in the tree. Your machine stays level at all times. This is also battery or electric. Weighs less than 15 pounds. You can put it in the back of a pickup truck, moves birds out of one area into the next by just driving around with it in there with the Roost Buster CD or cassette on there. And I just want to show you, here's another city getting these. There's several cities across the region that's starting to use these because of the bird problems. If you want more information, just call our 800 number. We'll be glad to talk to you about it. But this is our Roost Buster PA, and being delivered here to the Walnut Ridge. I'm here in Zenith with Tom Deck, and Mr. Deck, you remember about how many pecans was put on these after I treated these for your dad back in '97?
Yes, sir. This tree here had about 300 pounds on it itself, and all of them together, a little over 1,000 pounds, what they picked up.
Right, he's got 4 nice trees here. 3 of them are Stewart's, and the other one's a smaller, I think it's a Mahan. Might be wrong on that, but it's a smaller pecan. And he's having me treat them again. And what do you moved back here from Texas, you say?
Yes, sir, we sure did, yeah.
And we had talked in an earlier segment about the birds on one of your trees, but I want to talk a little bit about the gardening tips that you want to give a little information to our viewers. You're going into the organic gardening, is that right?
Yes, sir, we are. Yeah, we have found that there is a market in Texas that's exploding for the organic gardening. People are just becoming not only health conscious of what their body, what is going on, but what they take and put in their body. They're realizing that what they eat is going to attribute to what their body does do. So they're looking, and there's a market that is just overwhelming right now. People, when they go buy the produce, they'll pay sometimes triple the price if they can be guaranteed that it's been organically grown.
Right. And you had told me a little bit about your mulching and putting organic material in the soil, and so you got a head start on some of it. You're going to do a little bit of the berries too, aren't you?
Yes, sir. Yes, we have some blackberries out this year. It'll be probably 2 more years before we're in the market. I'm going to be planting about another 300 plants this year, and our long-term goal is to have a pick-your-own farm here. We have several friends in South Arkansas that have large operations to do that. Not only blackberries, but we hope to have blueberries too eventually.
Well, that is great. All of our modern chemicals are leaning towards the organic type thing, so you're not, having chemicals in your body. That's why the stuff we treat these pecan trees with is registered for that, which of course you got a copy of that label, which is registered for the pecan tree, so it don't leave that lingering chemical in us, even if you eat the nuts,
Yes, sir. And that is, like as you said, becoming more and more important. As more information is provided to us, they're realizing that what you put in you is going to determine what your health is going to be. So
you betcha.
We're really excited about it.
Well, I'm tickled that you took a minute to talk to our viewers about it, and would you be bothered if they want to come and talk to you here in Zenith?
No, that'd be fine.
All right, Tom, your dad, when I treated these for him, back in '97, he was a very interesting man also. And
Yes,
but I appreciate you taking a minute and talking to our viewers. And one other question before I stop, what do you do, your main business now?
I have a promotional business that I run through the computer, a lot of it, and I set up safety awards for companies in the area. A lot of international papers. I have 28 international papers that I run their safety programs. So I basically go around the countryside, and when they have a need to have an award program, we create it, design it, and implement the program for them.
All right. And you also, you gave me a coffee mug.
Anything that you want your name on, the company, a lot of banks, we service banks too. If you want to promote your name, such as Dickey Tree Service, whatever individual needs with their name on it, we provide it for them.
Good deal. Well, I hope our viewers will take advantage of some of that. And thanks again, Tom.
Appreciate it very much. You have a good day.
Well, you've heard me talk about things being left in a tree, or placing things in trees, hooks and stuff. This particular tree here's got a brick bat that's been allowed to grow, and it totally encompasses the whole brick bat, and it would be foolish to try to get this out. You do actually more damage than good. It's not hurting anything. The tree has walled off around where the brick bat's growing, and of course, one of these days when the tree does have to be cut down, somebody's going to get a little surprise there, but other than that, it's not hurting a thing. So don't try to hack these out of a tree if you find this going on with your tree. Just if you find one loose, get it away from there to start with, but if it's already got a hold on it and you can't get it out, leave it alone. You're not hurting a thing, and the tree will be glad you did.
Well, that's all the time we have for Tree Doctors today. I'm John Passmore, your host. For Ed Dickey, we thank you for joining us. And if you have any questions for Ed, it's pretty simple. Just go to dickeytree.com. You can email him from there, or you can send him a letter to Tree Doctors, Post Office Box 790, Jonesboro, Arkansas 72401. Until next time, thank you, and we'll see you on Tree Doctors.